And hello once again, excuse me, for another edition of Gaffing and Truth. Man, it's the curse. Uh, Welcome once again to the
Right?
Gaffing and Truth. My name is Jeff with a G, and myself and my good friend right there, Skabz Clown. We like to talk about weird shit here online. Really, it's mostly just because we like to talk about weird shit. We're just including you to be a part of this. How's it going, Skabz?
It's going all right, man. So far so good. Had some fun over the weekend. Um, did a show. Went to a show. Yeah, good weekend.
Good for you. Mine was very low key. I was still on the mend from having some knee issues from the previous weekend because dancing to Sasquatch is dangerous. I can tell you. So I kept home this past weekend just to not chance anything. But by staying home, I end up getting opportunities where that way, just so people are watching this who happen to watch this, I'll be moving soon from Austin, Texas to Coney Island, Brooklyn, New York in a couple of weeks. So there's that. That's my excitement. It's pretty
Right
darn
on.
exciting.
It's gonna be.
It's gonna be what? You're you're clipping, so you're.
It's probably the weather.
It's true, yeah, because Texas weather. Not gonna
Yeah,
miss that.
yeah. It went like fucking swamp ass hot today to like dark and rainy, and then it started hailing. And then just wind was crazy, and now it's just yellow outside. It's a pretty rainbow though, and yeah, I think it's gonna start raining again here shortly. Yay! So if the
Cool.
power goes out, I do have a lantern, and my phone's pretty much fully charged. But I'm going to be like at a loss with the rest of the episode because you're more of the topic of this one. I like
Yeah.
this stuff, but yeah, this is definitely your domain.
Well, yeah, because I'm a weird nerd like, especially when it comes to Hollywood stuff. And so the so today we want to talk about fun to talk about, like, not only talk about Hollywood, we want to talk about what we call cursed Hollywood. So like a lot of film sets and movies that supposedly had some big curses around them. We'll talk about some of the big ones, but I also want to talk about some of the smaller ones too, as far as, or rather, did you even realize there was a weird curse thing going on? Like, for example, I want to talk about. I'll start. So I want to talk about the Conqueror. So the Conqueror
Was
is
just
a
I'm
what's up?
just looking at that one.
Oh, the Conqueror is it's a really interesting thing because
It's hilarious. Oh my god.
so for people who don't know what the Conqueror is, so the Conqueror is like 1954, 56, somewhere in that range. Movie starring John Wayne as Genghis Khan. Let's start there. Uh, if can we talk about cultural appropriation and totally mishandling of all times? It's John Wayne as Genghis Khan. Because when I think of Genghis Khan, I certainly think of this Pilgrim. So there's
Yeah,
that.
I
Just
think of a
that's
fucking cowboy. That's what he was. Genghis Khan was
and
just a cowboy.
bright blue eyes, the whole nine
Yeah.
yards. So it's
Just like European skin. Um, hence the name Genghis Khan.
yeah. There you go, Marion.
There's hot debate about that for some reason because white scientists said no, it's Genghis Khan, but like people in Mongolia are like no, it's Genghis Khan. So
Yeah. So anyway, so what the curse has to do with this one specifically, other than just being an atrocious movie, because it's not a good film. I've seen this movie; it's not good by any stretch of the means. Uh, but what gets really interesting, the fact is that where they filmed it, which is out in the desert here in the United States in America, uh, they filmed it 100 miles away from where they were testing the nuclear bomb. And so fast forward 6 to 8 months, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, people started developing really, really nasty cancer. Like, now to be fair, this was also a time period when everybody was smoking. So that didn't help matters either. But I think that this helped quicken their need for everybody developing these really rare and nasty forms of lung cancer. And I think something like 12 or 15 people died from the cast and crew, including John Wayne, of cancer. Although there debate on whether or not the cancer that John Wayne died of is from that, or the fact is he was a 2 pack a day smoker. And these are 1950s cigarettes, so like, yeah, what filters, huh?
Yeah,
So
but there's a hot debate about that because they didn't have as many additives.
it's
But
still
still, I
not.
mean, you're smoking. It's not the best thing you can do for your.
Yeah, so I just thought that was a fun one to start out with because this is a small thing. And I went, all right, cool, because they only had the one main thing as far as that was the quote unquote curse. But the fact is, so many like random people in the cast and crew died that can like basically they can trace where their issue started was there because they were 100 miles away from where they were testing the atom bombs in the desert, and 100 miles is too close, as we've now determined with our assessment. So yeah,
Mm-hmm. And well, I mean, eh, they, it's kind of mean to say they got what they deserve, but like, goddamn, like John Wayne is fucking Genghis Khan. What the fuck?
I, I mean that's a curse in itself. Without just
Yeah. I mean, what year was that? 52.
Uh, I want it was like the early 50s. Let me see if I can pull it up again because I can't remember off the top of my head. I've lost my mind. 56, yeah, 1956. That's what I thought.
56. Okay, yeah. Well, they weren't doing. They didn't stop doing blackface too much earlier than that, did they?
Well, the thing is, at the time, okay, like, oh yeah, so blackface proper stopped a bit before that because we're still in the black and white films, no pun intended. Um, but when it comes to like yellow washing, for a lack of a better term, that extended a bit farther. Because I forget Mickey Rooney also played an Asian character in Breakfast at Tiffany's around the same time. There's a few other things that kind of that whole the whole whitewashing of or yellow, that sort of stuff maintained for a bit longer. In fact, even up to the 70s in a lot of cases for that sort of stuff. So um,
Yeah.
as a,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
dude. Like definitely too many like '80s comedies had like just white dudes playing Asians for just to be very stereotypical and outlandish and stuff. Like yeah, it had its
Yeah,
time. It wasn't a good thing.
no,
Now we know better. Because
yeah.
I mean, I'm
So
I'm guilty. I was a kid when that stuff came out. I looked at it probably.
well, for some of that stuff, like, oh yeah, for the 80s kind of 80s comedies, or with yeah, that's true. I like the in the 90s, the Not Another Teen movie. They spoofed that and made that part of the gag because that movie is all about parody, and so they actually had a white
Mm,
actor parodying that, but it was very obviously a parody because they didn't try to go
yeah,
with it. He just yeah, Sam Levine, who's actually a brilliant, funny guy. So, but that was part of the joke, as well as making fun of that sort of character.
yeah. And the only movie in the past, I don't even know how long, that people are okay with a man wearing blackface was Tropic Thunder.
That's true because once again, it was making fun of the people who did that. It was part of the. It
Mm-hmm.
was not. Yeah, it was part. It's making fun of the weird, crazy method actors, like
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Day Lewis and whatnot, and and because of and then in it so far, it was making fun of the people who did blackface, and so I think it's really interesting. I love watching these weird reaction videos on YouTube. I've really got to like. There's a deep ass rabbit hole for all this stuff, especially with music. But yeah, some people like some young black guys watching Tropic Thunder and watching the reactions, and they're laughing their asses off. So at first they're
Mm-hmm.
going, "I can't believe
Yeah,
they're doing that." And then like 5 minutes later, they're laughing their asses off because they realize that's the joke is the fact is this guy's doing this. He's not trying to play it straight. So I like that. I mean, it's not like it's like
yeah,
a
yeah,
Soul Man.
yeah. Right. So one of the other short ones I found, I'd never heard of this, but like this, just I wouldn't call this a curse, more like just bad timing and poor decisions. So Francis Ford Coppola was tempting fate when he decided to film Apocalypse Now during monsoon season. The filming and Coppola were so stressed that he suffered. Wait, hang on. The monsoon destroyed multiple sets. Martin Sheen suffered a heart attack. Coppola was stressed and suffered a seizure. According to The Independent, Apocalypse Now in 1979 turned out to be a masterpiece anyway. True, it's a great movie. But the documentary Hearts of Darkness, a filmmaker's apocalypse about its making, is just as engrossing. I've never heard that movie, and now I'll watch it.
Oh, the Hearts of Darkness is amazing. It's a weird behind the scenes thing. It's, I mean, literally, it's probably the best documentary you're ever gonna watch. No shit. It is masterfully made, and you really get to see the what's the like you want to see really like what the shit go down, but stuff still works. That is definitely the movie. That's definitely a thing to word. Like Hearts of Darkness, amazing, because that's also the name of the book that Apocalypse Now is based off of. So just so you know. Um, so here's a interesting thing. It's a little small thing. It's not. I don't say cursed. Once again, we're like these things are considered cursed Hollywood stuff, but sometimes yeah. Once again, it's the weird stuff. So one of my favorite movies of all time, classic. One of my favorite classic movies of all time is actually the movie Psycho, the old Alfred Hitchcock film. That I mean, he filmed in like 15 days on a shoestring budget. Color was all the rage, and he decided to film it in black and white. Had such a like it's like one of the ultimate like it's one of the original like twist ending films, um,
Mm-hmm.
and really built well with that. But what's interesting about the film, and kind of I don't want to say curse, but like it's a really weird. So Janet Leigh's stand-in for the movie, and I believe it's actually her body you see in the shower, like the back and stuff like that, the shower scene. Her name is Myra Jones, or Myra Davis is another name she used. Go get like that. Well, what's interesting about the film is that a handyman that used to work for the handyman uh, was helping with the show for like a minute because they had to get something fixed or ready for a scene. Anyway, tracked this lady down and killed her because yeah. So yeah, Psycho, which is like, and also like there were a lot of people who had problems like Janet Leigh. Basically, from that point on, never took showers again. She was strictly a bath person. Anthony Perkins got horribly typecast after that film. He was actually a brilliant actor. Did other things. He kept trying to do other stuff. Things like The Black Hole, for example, back in 1979. But no, he got horribly typecast, and then he also, some would argue, and I disagree with this thing, but like somebody said, part of that curse of the fact is that it like made him gay because he had had a kid, and then he was gay after that. I mean, he was always gay. He was just pressured to stay, and not be stay in the closet. And one way to prove you're not gay is to have a kid. So yeah, so that's a
Yeah,
nice
not
little one.
anymore.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, ta-da,
Wow,
Psycho.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
I found this one on a list. I just want to do it really quick. It's kind of stupid. So the movie Superman. Um,
Yeah.
um, it says comic book movie fans may know about Superman curse, which is said to afflict multiple actors involved in Superman films. Christopher Reeve was paralyzed following a horse accident, and Margot Kidder, who played Lois opposite Reeve, suffered from bipolar disorder.
Well, to be fair, both of them with their afflictions were decades after the movies. It wasn't like it was like right the next day. No, literally, like Christopher Reeve was well in, like there had already been another Superman movie before he he fell off his horse. Or he got thrown by his horse. Although I think Margot Kidder was always kind of out there. So
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, just that doesn't seem like a curse. Like it's like my buddy bought a used car one time, and then 10 years later, bam, herpes.
let's as far as what movie that's been considered cursed and it's deeply affected people so far, things like that is probably a big one. Is let's talk about the Passion of the Christ, the Mel Gibson directed movie with Jim Caviezel as playing Jesus. Well,
My
here's some
ex
weird.
girlfriend made me see that movie in theaters.
It's torture porn. It's like torture porn, but not as entertaining as like Saw is at least entertaining. Uh,
Mm.
the coolest part of that, actually, the thing I liked the most about the movie is they made him speak in like Aramaic and stuff like that for the language of the time, which I went, oh, that's pretty cool. I liked that.
Yeah,
Uh,
somebody gave my dad a bootleg copy of it on VHS, and it was like they tried to translate Aramaic themselves for the subtitles, because it was like I Jesus, like in the subtitle. Like, what the fuck
uh,
is going on?
it's he who is called I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, the curse that happened with Passion of the Christ. So Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus, um, has been struck twice by lightning. He's had hypothermia, lung infections, pneumonia, dislocated shoulders, uh, and this is all during the production. I'm not talking about later. This
Yeah.
is all while they're making the
Yeah.
movie.
I remember
Uh,
this now, because they had accidentally hit him with the whip, and all kinds of stuff.
yeah. Then, in addition, this is also right out. This is right before like Mel Gibson had his crazy ass racist breakdown
Mm-hmm.
with his girlfriend and all that sort of stuff. Uh, Jim Caviezel's also like crazy, like truther right winger now. So it's just really, really interesting. The fact is, like, dude played Jesus and almost got killed like multiple times, including getting struck by lightning twice. It's crazy,
No
crazy.
shit.
Yeah.
And we know somebody who's been struck by lightning multiple times.
Yes, we do. Yeah, great aerial performer right there in Houston, Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I find that weird. Like it's just something about certain people. Maybe he's got more metal in his blood. He's a mutant. We should ask him if he's a mutant next time we hang out.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, I might do that.
Everyone's got some kind of weird mutant thing. I never got my wisdom teeth in the next human evolution.
Okay.
Woo! That's
For
all I
what
got. I'm not
that's
that special. Speaking of struck by lightning, when was the last time you watched The Omen?
It's been a minute, but yeah, I watched it. Like you were talking about the classic 1973 version, correct? Not the one that came out in the 90s.
96. Close,
Or
yeah.
yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah. So yeah, I haven't watched it in forever either. I never heard about this, but let's see. Gregory Peck and the screenwriter David Seltzer had their flights struck by lightning on the way to filming, and director Richard Donner's hotel was bombed by the IRA, and members of the crew were caught in a car crash. So the hotel was bombed by the IRA. Like, fuck, man. Like, I'm trying to sleep.
Did this for you, Damien. I'm doing this for you.
And do you want to find some more little ones? We got a couple of
Yeah.
good ones we want to talk about. We're almost
Oh
halfway.
no, let's talk about. I want to talk about James Dean.
Sorry,
So
which one?
I want to talk about like the actor James Dean. We're gonna
Oh
start
yeah.
with that first. We
Oh
talked a
yeah.
little
No,
bit about.
I've heard some of this.
So we talked a little bit about this with when we talked about haunted objects, because one of the haunted objects we talked
Mhm.
about was his poor spider and how all the crazy shit that went down when after the wreck and pieces up. So that's part of the story. Here's the other interesting part of the story: is the fact is like as he was doing the press for his upcoming movie Giant, he was asked to do a PSA right before like doing the press tour. You know what the PSA was about? Driving safely. including
Irony.
including the scripted line saying the life you save may be your own,
Hmm.
or the fact that was
Man.
the scripted line, James Dean, always the kidder, you said the life you save may be mine, was what he ad libbed. So yeah, and then like a week later, takes a header off the fucking cliff and inadvertently kills a bunch of people with his haunted car.
Yep. Ta-da.
So yeah, that's part of that Hollywood curse. Basically, I think he cursed that car to do shit. But the fact is, or he shouldn't have talked about driving safety because he wasn't that guy anyways. So yeah,
Makes sense to me.
yeah.
Oh man. So which one do you want to get into? We talked about a couple.
We'll talk about one more small one. Let's talk about Twilight Zone first, because that's a smaller one. Because it
Okay.
really only has to do with one
Yeah.
part of the movie, not the whole entire production. Because
Yeah.
because that fucked over everybody involved with that afterwards, because all the bad, like anybody involved with that segment of the movie has not done well since then as far as professionally. So for those people who saw the 1980, like the early 1980s Twilight Zone the movie, there are multiple segments just like the series where, but they would do like these little segments. So I don't remember the name of the first one had to do with a guy who was like horribly racist, played by Vic Morrow, and then he ended up getting he ended up going through a bunch of stuff where he was the person that was the race that he was, stuff like that. Now, while filming the movie, they were actually filming a thing set in Vietnam, and so they had a scene where the Vic Morrow was supposed to grab a couple of Asian children and supposed to run away while basically they're doing a stunt involving a helicopter. Well, things go awry, like
Before
awry,
you get into the
awry.
whole thing, he was also
Yeah.
using live bullets.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but that
He was
wasn't what
also
did
using
it. So
live bullets during this because he
yeah,
wanted it to be as realistic as possible.
I'll say who the
Because
director
obviously,
was
with the
too.
film technology back then, you could see the bullets or something.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
fucking
and
know.
like
God.
and the director who did that was actually a real big fan of the director. It's just how it happened. So anyway, so stunt goes awry, and the helicopter ends up landing on Vic Morrow and these two children, killing them almost instantly. And they had to all but they had to recut that scene, like basically that part of the story, as best they could, because they were committed to it. Because part of the charm at the time was why people were like thinking that doing this is because there was four stories, four great directors of the time doing each of these stories, and that
Mm-hmm.
particular story was directed by John Landis. American Werewolf in London, Animal House, all this sort of stuff. After doing that movie, I mean, he still had work, but it's obviously a lot of the big Hollywood wouldn't trust him towards stuff. So if you see him doing stuff, it's usually like much smaller features with independent stuff, and he just never recovered. Um, his in fact, it's weird. His son was starting to be an up and comer too, and then he got me too'd and is also out as well. Uh, yeah, like his son, like he was like there was a lot of stuff for like 3 years where he had his hand helping writing stuff, and then he got me too, and now he's not doing anything anymore. So that sort of stuff. So like people associated with it, that particular segment of Twilight Zone the movie either dead because Vic Morrow was the main actor. They had some smaller actors and stuff like that beyond the Asian children, but and then like John Landis has never recovered. Now the other three stories are in the movie are still fun and fine. I still recommend watching the movie. It's still a lot of fun to
Oh
watch. You also get and there's stuff like you get to watch like Steven Spielberg did one of the things. And I think Toby Hooper did another one. We'll talk about Toby
I don't
Hooper in a
remember. Man,
minute.
I haven't watched it in so long. But my favorite one was the kid, like The Simpsons did a spoof on it, where it was like,
Well,
you know,
actually,
he just make
that's
anything happen with his mind.
that's well. The fact is because that's all those stories they had an older because they're all old Twilight Zone episodes, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that particular one was like an old singing, and like the kid who did that was in the original was like the kid like Will Robinson and Lost in Space and stuff like that, and that's what he started doing stuff, and like he ended like as an adult actor, he became like a voice actor, and he did stuff like on Babylon 5 and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the guys as part of the band that did Fish Heads, so on and so forth. I just can't remember his name off the top of my head. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
that's a fun one too. And of course the John Lithgow like the Terror 10,000 feet above, which is also Simpsons spoof did.
Mm-hmm.
The original one had William Shatner in the TV series playing
Yeah.
that role. So
Oh yeah, I know. Shatner was good in it, and like the monster was way cooler in the with Lithgow though.
oh yeah.
But the Shatners look like just like Bigfoot.
Well, I mean, don't forget, like this is like it was episodic TV set in the '60s, like it was filmed in the '60s. So a lot of stuff is like, and they had like Twilight Zone is an amazing series. I think it's on. I think it's still on for a little bit
I think
longer on Netflix, or
Hulu
it's
was.
about to leave.
I think it, I think it was on Hulu when I like tried to when I was kind of bouncing back and forth watching it.
Yeah, it's about to leave whatever normal streaming service. My guess is it's moving to something more specialized, like Peacock Plus or something or other. I don't know, or
Yeah.
Paramount or whatever. Probably Paramount, because that's like if they have the newer edition of Twilight Zone on Paramount, the one that has Jordan Peele.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that was a thing. I
Yeah.
don't really watch TV.
Well, I don't have Paramount, so I don't know. I just know of it because one is I like Jordan Peele, and two is I like Twilight Zone. So like Twilight Zone's had I used to watch the '80s version for quite a while. That was a lot of fun. Some really cool stuff. I don't know how
Mm,
that one's accessible because there were some really good episodes that had some really good actors. There's like one that had like Robin Williams in it that was really good, and some other stuff that lasted for a couple years. And then they did another redo, I think in the early late '90s, that had Forrest Whitaker as the host, and that lasted
I
like a
vaguely
season.
remember that.
It was like on UPN or something. It was like on a weird channel, like it was like one of the off-brand channels. And then this thing coming back on Paramount, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
we
love that.
digress.
I watched it all the time growing up. That and The Outer Limits.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But before we move on, one thing that they like just a quote from somebody, random quote about the curse. Kane Hodder from
Oh
Friday the
yeah.
13th. Um, he said, "Sometimes things just happen on set. There's no guarantee of anything." That was his. Yeah, he's like, it's not a curse. Just shit happens. You
Oh
fucked
no,
up.
I agree. Yeah, that one's just like a horrible, horrible accident. It's one of those things that it's not meant to happen, but it could happen. So it's really weird. I completely agree.
Yeah. Well, I've got kind of a quick one.
Huh?
That I mean, it's something worth talking about, but we don't have to like get way too into it.
All right.
Um, hang on. So, Rosemary's Baby. You ever seen the movie?
I have seen the movie. Yes, I have. It's a great film. I'm a big, actually,
It is.
despite all
I
this,
watched it in school.
yeah, despite all the shit that, don't get me wrong, Roman Polanski's not a great man. But
No.
the shit, yeah, but the thing is, like, I think what you're going to be talking about in a second, as far as what's surrounding this, I think that what happened here or happened around this sort of stuff is what fucked him up for life. And while it doesn't excuse his actions, at least it helps explain his actions since this point. Uh, so yeah, it's a great film. It's but like
Mm-hmm.
Polanski's, I still love Polanski's work as far as a director. I can separate it out. Like The Ninth Gate is one of my favorite movies of all time. But yeah, so yes. So
Yeah.
what part of the curse you want to talk about with
I mean,
Rosemary
he
Baby?
just had to deal with the he had to deal with the aftermath of it. Also, Farrow received her divorce papers from Sinatra during that time. But so, to those of you out there who don't know who Roman Polanski is, which is weird if you don't, and you're watching this, but his wife was Sharon Tate, who was killed by the Manson family.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and she was
Was it Sharon
pregnant with
Tate, Folger, and who else? Um,
what's
somebody else
it's
killed three people
yeah,
that night.
yeah, Sharon Tate, who
She was
was
pregnant.
she was pregnant with Roman Polanski's
Yep.
kid. Uh,
Yeah.
Once again, this would this fucks everybody. Anybody has like, in the best of circumstances, when losing your partner is never a great thing and it's hard to get processed through. But to have something happen so horrifically bad and have your potential kid
Mm.
come into play, I'm not gonna lie, that's a hard thing to come back from. And one those some things that you can still make wrong paths from that. And so what's the saying? I don't excuse his behavior, but I'm telling you right now that the path that had him lead down as far as for his indiscretions, for lack of a better term, started from that day. That's what changed him irrevocably. And then plus an asshole
Mm.
DA who was trying to make an asshole DA was trying to make their bones with something, and it just.
Mm.
But yes, it's 2 months after after the filming completed, Sharon, along with everybody else, and fucking that fucking debacle, which was the Manson shit. Yeah,
Mm.
and then there's like lots of
Yeah.
little stuff. There's a lot of little stuff that happened around that movie, because any time a movie's made that has the devil in it, anything that could be construed as being a sign that was a wrong thing to do, things happen. And so, like,
Yeah.
whether it's from small stuff to even things like this, then
Yeah.
yeah, I
That's why the
mean,
double made Mia Farrow and Frank Sinatra divorce. You know.
well, yeah, I mean, Frank was a really big Catholic, so I mean,
Mm.
or
Yeah,
maybe
he was. You know, he was Frank Sinatra was he was a great guy. You know, just he was a devout Catholic, very religious man. Yeah. You ever heard the story about how he broke up with a woman by sending his security guard upstairs? He was like, "Hey, go back to my hotel room, splash a glass of wine in her face, tell her it's over, and kick her out." And that's what the
that doesn't.
security guard did. Literally went up there and splashed wine in this woman's face and made her leave.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's yeah, Frank would not exist today. Uh, like, he could not. It's like,
No.
it's there's certain people that just, and I mean, which is good. I mean, it's one of those things that go. People always get, like, try to cancel the cancel culture and stuff like that. I go, well, I go, man, it's not worth it. You have to let things happen in their, if of their time, let it be of its time. Don't try to look at that stuff in the past with today's eyes, because you're just going to be disappointed in everybody. Everybody.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. So we got about 20 minutes left ish. I know we got a couple of big ones, and I want to end with a good, fun, strange one. So let's talk. Do you want to do Exorcist or Poltergeist? What do you want to start with?
Mm.
Or did you have a different one in mind other than those two?
No, that's I had those. Well, these three, you know.
Yeah.
But
Well, let's look at the last one.
I
Yeah.
just clicked on Poltergeist, so let's talk about Poltergeist. Um,
Sure.
yeah, okay, so yeah. released in 1982. Toby Hooper, produced by Spielberg. God, let's see what else is in here. The film focuses on the Freelings, a middle-class family whose life is upturned when a number of paranormal and vicious events occur in their California home, and their daughter, Carol Ann, is abducted through her bedroom closet by a group of ghosts who are under the control of a monster demon called Beast. And all of this because their land was on a Native American burial ground. Oh, I just wanted to give a little synopsis of the movie. I loved this movie growing up. Oh my god.
Interesting note, rumor, because this is like Toby Hooper's first major studio movie as a director. People who don't know who Toby Hooper is, probably the film he was best known prior to this was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was
Mm-hmm.
filmed not that far from where I live. Um, uh, and there's rumor has it that like Spielberg went heavily to bat for this, so much so that Spielberg stepped in and helped direct for a few things. Oh, I like a good portion of the movie, just to make sure it got made because this is also the first movie that Steven Spielberg was producing for with Amblin Entertainment. So Spielberg, Hollywood's wonderkind, had a lot on the line just because it's his first production, and so he hired this guy, and he wanted to make sure he couldn't afford to have this movie fail. So there's this, that has nothing to do with the curses we're going to talk about, but it's one of those another behind the scenes sort of story as far as why there's some weird troubling things about the production. It comes like that's strictly normal Hollywood stuff. It's because there was so much on the line for so many people. Um, this is probably like Toby Hooper. I mean, he directed some other movies since then, but probably nothing else as big as probably Poltergeist after this. Uh,
Yeah.
and that includes The Mangler.
So you. Oh God. I love that. I need to watch the movie again. I haven't. I don't remember shit from that movie. I just know I've seen it. I was like
Oh
young.
no,
I was like
it's
6 years old when I saw that shit.
no, it's a Stephen King short story movie. So you know
I
how
mean,
great
I've read the
those
story. The
are.
story's great.
Yeah, it's a generic haunted item in a thing sort of story.
Yeah,
Just
but
different sort of thing.
but it's massive. The end of the short story. I'm gonna ruin it for everybody. The end of the short story, like pretty much the entire machine comes to life, and it's just like threshing down a street, destroying everything.
Yeah, I don't think it ends. I'm trying to remember the movie. I don't think it ends that way. Uh, I know Robert Englund's
I
in
don't
it.
remember. Yeah, I've got like I said, I was like 5 or 6 years old. I don't remember shit from it. But anyway, back to Poltergeist. I almost said Poultrygeist because I was thinking of that movie the other day.
That's another big curse for this fucking movie is because of that thing exists.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, right. Poultrygeist. Thanks, drama. Uh, so let's start off young. Carol Ann Freeling, the young focal point of the series, was played by Heather O'Rourke when she was 6 years old. She was great. Audiences loved her. Um, Sadly, she was misdiagnosed with Crohn's disease in 1987. The following year, O'Rourke fell ill again, and her symptoms were casually attributed to the flu. A day later, she collapsed and suffered a cardiac arrest. After being airlifted to a children's hospital in San Diego, O'Rourke died during an operation to correct a bowel obstruction, and it was later believed that she had been suffering from a congenital intestinal abnormality. I almost said anomaly. I was trying to say anomaly and abnormality at the same time. So yeah, 7 years old.
yeah, they're
Died
about
from a heart attack.
yeah. Literally, it's they
Mm-hmm.
got done with the first movie. They were getting ready to they were looking at doing the second movie, and that's she died before the second movie. They could even start filming for the second movie.
Yeah.
There have been three, by the way, three pulled of the original trilogy, not counting the update. Which is also another curse upon these fucking movies. Is it's an update that didn't need to happen. Uh, oh yeah, there's that. Let's talk about the older daughter, Dominic Dunn.
Mm-hmm.
she's in the movie. If everybody remembers watching the movie and the infamous clown scene, just because that's
I
what
get
people
told a lot.
remember.
I
Yeah,
get told a lot that that's one of the reasons people are afraid of clowns. It's
yeah,
that,
I go.
it's Pennywise, and it's the brave little toaster.
But yeah, it's literally it's the clown. Like that's what fucked people up more than anything from the poltergeist is the fucking clown scene. I don't think it would have the impact without it. Uh, like life imitating motherfucking art because she was strangled by the clown in that scene. Her boyfriend, a couple of years later, strangled her as well.
Left her for dead in the driveway.
Yeah, and that was like, I mean, yeah. So that's nice. That's fun.
hmm I like the way this one was put because it kind of lumps the other two together because they weren't from the original film. But the other two cast member deaths, while unfortunate, were not as unpredictable or mysterious. The evil creature Kane from Poltergeist 2 was played by Julian Beck in 1983. Beck had been diagnosed with stomach cancer, which took his life shortly after he finished work on the second installment of the series. The same film was met with further tragedy after Will Sampson, who played Taylor the Native American shaman, died after undergoing a heart lung transplant, which had a very slim survival rate.
Yeah,
So yeah, it wasn't really a curse. Didn't happen on set. It was health problems.
yeah. But you want to know why people really, other than so you know what they talk about why this stemmed as far as the curses, right?
Oh, I
So
know.
if
Yeah.
what, yeah. So for people in the cheap seats, so another one of the iconic scenes in the first movie is like when they're making the pool and whatnot, and they get in there, and
Mm.
then they discover that yes, they're on top of an Indian burial ground. You want to know why? Because the corpses are dancing and landing on them. Here's the fucked up thing: some of those bodies were real.
Mm. Because for whatever reason, real skeletons were cheaper than plastic skeletons.
In a pinch, yeah, probably. As far as like, it's quicker. Like I go, we have to shoot tomorrow. It's quicker for me to grab a body than it is trying to get one made. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess I don't know. Um,
This one's already built.
that's true. Yeah, I mean, look at the old story of like Elmer McGurdy. So yeah, so yeah,
Um,
that's
one
yeah,
more thing.
Poltergeist. Well, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, there's one more thing. So Samson was a real life medicine man, like, and
Okay,
the one who died from the heart lung transplant thing.
yeah,
Um, he actually performed an authentic exorcism after shooting Wrapped one night, and one can only imagine how this made the cast members feel.
that's fair. Watching some dude do some weird shit. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. All right, so we got two left we want to talk about. Let's talk about the other big film that I want to end on the fun one, at least to me, I find interesting. Let's talk about The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Actually, two things. I forgot I was going to talk about. We're going to talk. Actually, let me talk about a small thing, then we'll talk about The Exorcist because I want to bring up The Crow real quick. I meant to bring it up earlier. We talked about it before we started, and I forgot to talk about it a lot. So everybody remembers the movie The Crow. Uh, three
Mm-hmm.
days, 3 days before they're done with their primary photography, Brandon Lee was tragically killed due to a misfiring prop gun. It's really what it was. It was packed wrong, and just as such, it actually impacted hit him like it hit him like a real bullet, and tragically passed away. The guy who was the actor who played the Fun Boy. It was the Fun Boy scene where like he got me dead, bang, that sort of scene. That was that scene they were shooting, and so Fun Boy, the actor who played Fun Boy, is the one who shot him. uh, Fucked him up royally. Like he was really guilty and stuff like that. So he barely acted ever again. He popped up in some weird stuff. Like he had like a bed scene in like Seven and some other stuff before he actually died a few years ago. Uh, Anyways, the reason why this is a really interesting thing, the idea of the curse, is because Brandon Lee is the son of Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, who also died under mysterious, weird circumstances while he was filming a movie called Games of Death. For Bruce Lee, he died of what they believe to be a brain aneurysm. Like he had a headache, took some aspirin, laid down, never woke up again. Supposedly, Bruce Lee was cursed by some Chinese underground people, like the underground, like Chinese underground, like mafia bosses and stuff like that, because they're really superstitious in that respect, even the underworld, and which is how he died. But part of the curse was like his firstborn son, and so Brandon Lee, same age as his dad, they both died at the same time. Now, Bruce Lee's daughter is still alive, so maybe it's just following his sons. And I don't think Brandon ever had kids, so I think it stopped there. So there's a small thing, quick nugget of information.
Mm.
So yeah, so The Exorcist. Now we'll get to The Exorcist. Another
So,
one of the films, one of the most quote unquote cursed films that's ever been plagued as far as happening.
yeah, I found some like just really cool facts on it. So how about I give a fact and then you talk about one of
The
the
weird nerd
occurrences.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
the weird nerd.
you want to
Yeah,
do it that
sure.
way?
Let's talk about. Yeah, we can do it. We can do it however. Like we'll just talk about it, and I'll bring up the background as far as some of the information. So
Okay, cool. I got this one to start with. The Exorcist was supposedly based on some real life events. It said that there was rumored exorcism that took place on school grounds of Georgetown University in 1949. According to legends, in 1949, a schoolboy aged 14 attempted to contact his dead aunt using a Ouija board and ended up being possessed by demonic forces. In 1950, a person named William Peter Blatty graduated from the Georgetown University and wrote a novel based on the 1949 exorcism. This novel became the source of the movie.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, bloody Exorcist stuff like that. Uh, yeah, that so far yes. Although I hesitate. The fact is, it's lazy reporting by saying Ouija board for 1949. It would have been a spirit board or a talking board, but that's just me. I'm that
Mm.
asshole. So just Ouija's a brand. It's like saying, it's like Q-tip. Q-tip is a brand. Band-Aid is a brand. Ouija board,
Band-Aid, yeah.
brand.
It's an adhesive medical strip.
Or cotton swab. And got made into the movie. William Friedkin, amazing director, who had he did some amazing stuff even after this film. So uh, the French Connection, brilliant film. Also William Friedkin.
Yeah.
That all that stuff so far is true. The fact is, William Blatty, who actually made several crazy like big books too. So uh, no, what's that? It's really interesting, especially how they made this movie as well. Is really fascinating. It's still considered one of the scariest movies ever made. Uh, More people have walked out of this movie than from fright and from disgust than like as far as than any other film. To be fair, there are far grosser films out there, but they don't get quite so wide release. So, but still, numbers count. Um, no, it's a really interesting film. I find it fascinating. I actually watched it not too terribly long ago again for the because it popped. It was like on one of the streaming channels, and it for the most part holds up. I mean, there's small stuff that's very much of the time, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still good. I definitely recommend it still. I'm hoping it's
Yeah.
one of those type of films that doesn't like the Hollywood remake machines are still trying to shy away from. I know they tried to do that weird prequel movie, or like, well, technically two prequel movies, which is of itself such a weird ass story that we could talk about some other time.
Yeah.
But because that's really fucked up and how that thing came to be. But no, the movie that things like the evangelist Billy Graham, who just said like who horrible person but very popular for the time, said that the whole everything surrounding that film is tainted by darkness, and that there's a power of evil just in the existence of that film. The fact is that film exists proves that there is evil in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. So what's some weird
Mm.
shit you want to get into beyond that?
Um, so so Reagan, the main character, Linda Blair,
Yeah.
that wasn't her voice when she was possessed. The voice
Sure.
was of Mercedes McCambridge. Um, she didn't have that voice like that, but she was so dedicated. She started chain smoking and made herself throw up a mixture of mashed apples and raw eggs to give herself to gain the voice. And
Yeah.
then Warner Brothers never gave her any credit for it. She was not in the movie credits, anything. And when Linda Blair got the Oscar for the voice, they had to. She sued, so she had to be given credit for the voice. She had to
Well, yeah.
sue the movie to get like credit at all for for talking the majority of the movie.
Well, yeah. It's yeah, for that sort of stuff is was not terribly uncommon. Weirdly enough, what's funny is that I don't know, a couple of decades earlier, there was actually a movie that was made about that sort of thing, where basically there was a person who was a voice, a singing voice for another actor, had their come up the had got their day when the person who was trying to trick them into like that come up. It's movie I'm talking about, Singing in the Rain. It's all about that sort of stuff, but a lot more fun. Especially when Fred, especially when Debbie Reynolds' head goes around her head. That didn't happen. So yeah, no, that's one fucked up thing. The fact is that she did that sort of stuff. I would consider that cursing. I would consider that just bullshit Hollywood. But good on her that she sued and won to get credit.
Yeah.
Good on
No,
her.
I'm letting you do the curse stuff. I'm just looking up the weird stuff.
Oh, okay. Oh, let's talk curse stuff. Let's talk about Ellen Burstyn, who played the mom. Brilliant, brilliant actress. Let's talk about the fact is that during a stunt gone wrong, she had a severe spinal injury. That happened during the film. That was crazy. Set would constantly catch on fire. Like three-quarters of set burned, like either during the film or soon after. That's another fucked up thing that happened. Supposedly, Linda Blair predicted a crew member's death during the filming. That's some fucked up things too. What are some other? Uh, like so when the film so what's probably the most strange is when the film made its premiere at the Metropolitan Theater in Rome, where the history comes from. So it actually had a premiere at Rome. So The Exorcist in Rome. That's kind of cool. Uh, the theater actually stood a short distance from two 16th century churches, each adorned with massive crosses. And as audience members filled in, a torrential lightning and rain pounded the area. And shortly before the start of the film, a horrendous sound was heard from outside. What was discovered is that one of those crosses, that's 8 feet long and over 400 years long, had been struck by lightning and landed on the ground below. And this is like literally, it's like you're walking into the theater. It's like right fucking there. So it's like right by there. So like literally, once everybody sat down, all right, cool, the movie's about to begin. What? Go back outside. Fucking God hates us. Uh, what else is some other fun stuff was like kind of crazy and weird? I think
After the
was it
movie
like
was
a
released, Linda Blair actually received assassination threats because people started believing that she was actually Satan. Warner Brothers
well,
provided personal bodyguards to her for 6 months straight.
well, yeah, it's like of the time, like I mean, like literally, like so. Think about this: is when the timing of this movie got released, uh, which is really like right in this sweet spot as far as that new gritty realism that came in Hollywood, the new Hollywood they call it. So you got things like you got Francis Ford Coppola, you got the Godfather stuff, you've got Scorsese's starting to pop up with his thing, so all these like really gritty and kind of like almost realistic stuff. So that it has that kind of tone. So when you watch the movie, you get that feeling too, because it has that weird kind of, it has just that rawness that was very popular at the time, and so it felt more real. And also at the time, the more people in the United States identified them as in the Christian religion than do today. So there's also that sort of thing. So anything depicting the devil was obviously suspect as far as people believing so. In fact, things like got so bad that it took until the 90s to have a title like a major release having something say hell in the title of the movie from a major release
Yeah.
movie. I mean, yeah, there's still shit that happened like in like stuff like that, but it just gives you a hint on how the populace and even how Hollywood was really skittish when it came to religious sort of stuff. And so when you see this really well made, grounded in reality looking film, yeah, of course, people are going
Mm.
to take it like it looks really like because fucking Friedkin was a master at doing this sort of stuff. Like when he the whole we're gonna run long, but that's fine because I'll talk fucking movies all day. Yeah, it's like the whole scene where they're filmed in a fucking meat locker, pretty much a meat locker when they were doing a lot of the exorcism scenes, so you can see their breath and everything like that. Because it's like 30 degrees in that room on purpose, and just all sorts of crazy stuff. It's amazing. So it's an amazing film. Watch it. As whether or not that there's actually curses and stuff like that. Weird. I mean, like the fact is that roughly, I want to say there's something like 9 people died during the filming of the at least the first two films, like a weird circumstances. Nothing.
Yeah.
I think Poltergeist had more horrific stuff happen. I think it's just all this was like weird. It's like a lot of this came down to so and so had cancer, or that sort of stuff. It's like that sort of death, not a got hit by a bus, weird shit, or struck by lightning or whatnot. But yeah, Exorcist. Great film. Actually, all the movies we've talked about for the most part are great films. That's what except for the Conqueror. That's a fucking piece of shit. But all the other ones are good.
Oh man. The film's post production was done in New York,
Yeah,
on 666 Fifth Avenue.
of course. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because also it keeps on brand. I think that was done on purpose, because that's just on brand. No, it's a great film. Yeah, some weird shit
Mm.
happened. It's unfortunate, like people like Linda Blair. Linda Blair had a really tough time trying to get out from under that. She got very typecast to be a scream queen as she got older. I mean, she was still a kid when she made the movie, and then they were trying to pigeonhole her as being a scream queen afterwards, and she really wasn't into that. She really doesn't care for horror films.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, she did it, and then she did some other stuff. I mean, I've seen her pop up on TV, sort of things. She had a really weird, interesting role in Nip Tuck. She was in the Repossessed, which is the spoof one with Leslie Nielsen, which is
Mm.
which was fine. They had a couple of good bits, but otherwise it was
Yeah, I mean, like she got back injuries, like Ellen Burstyn did too, like horrible
that's
back
yeah.
injuries. Like Ellen Burstyn had like a permanent spinal injury.
She did, yeah.
Ugh.
She didn't work for like a decade because she couldn't work, or so. Like, yeah, like she's been popped up. Ellen Burstyn, for people like if you want to see something amazing done by her for a movie you'll only ever watch once, watch. Fuck, now I can't remember the. I like. There's a. What the fuck is the name of that movie? I'm gonna vamp and talk because I know what the movie. It's like, dude, it's like an amazing film, but you can only ever watch it once because it's a really intense film. Oh, Requiem for a Dream.
Oh yeah,
It is an amazing
yeah.
film, but you can only watch it once because it's just so
Well, I've watched it a
intense.
couple times.
But it's
I
really
love
just
like some of the imagery in it is amazing.
but it's so intense that it's just one of those.
Mm-hmm.
You're also so good. You've seen it. It's good.
Yeah.
Darren Aronofsky,
Hmm.
amazing director. But that's one of those movies you go, you know what? I've done it. I've seen it. That's just that hits some hard shit there. But she's amazing in it. Uh, so let's end on one more thing, then we'll get out of here. Because I want to talk about the one thing we talked about earlier. I want to talk about a movie that's so cursed it never got made.
Yeah.
That's how cursed
Oh
this
man.
fucking movie is. It's like it has had technically it's had four major attempts to get made, and anybody who's been attached to this thing as far as the star, tragedy has befallen them, and it gets set back. So much so that now that nobody was willing to touch this fucking movie. What movie do you ask? The movie is called Atuk.
I,
Atuk. It's basically it's a weird kind of like see the world sort of film about an Inuit boy who travels with an explorer from a book
yeah.
made in written in the 60s. Uh, First time it got tried to get released was get made was it was attached to John Belushi, who like at that point in time when he got I think he was just starting to get into theatrical like dramatic roles. He did like things like Continental Vibe and stuff like that. So I think he was trying to branch away a little bit more from comedies, and so I think that's why he got attached to it initially. But drug overdose, dead,
Hmm.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
Uh,
And up next there was and I, Sam Kinison. I love Sam Kinison so much. But he signed up to play the lead 8 days after filming started. So they actually got started on it. Um, he he freaked out, went to his office or went to his dressing room, and he was like, "The movie's all wrong. I'm not going to do it this way." Um, but they ended up just shutting it down. Said the manager told him he could rewrite the script, but later found out he couldn't. And then how it doesn't say well, where is it here? He's sued by the movie producers. He died on April 10th, 1992, when his car was hit by a pickup truck driven by a 17-year-old who had been drinking. His wife, Malika Swari, who he married in Vegas just 6 days earlier, was also in the car but survived. Kinnison was 38.
yeah, yeah, it was like a weird random death, and his wife was also a twin, for the record. He was dating them both for a while, and then he picked one before, upon marrying. Uh, Interesting side note. Yeah, like the Sam Kinison, like the whole the Houston Outlaw Gang, Sam Kinison, Bill Hicks, and whatnot. Always found fascinating. But yeah, it was like that weird kind of. He was on his way. He cleaned himself up. He's been all right, cool. I'm gonna make this shit work. He kicked all his habits. He's married the love of his life. Was ready to make this cool movie that was gonna make him. And yeah, died of happens. The weird fucking happenstance. Like
Mhm.
yeah, he like everybody accused him like he was gonna kill himself driving drunk. Nope, somebody else was driving drunk and killed him. Weird irony. Uh, Now the next person that got signed onto this was John Candy, who was going to be like whether he was filming Wagons East at the time, which was like a really not good comedy. Uh, and then this was going to be his next role. Like he was already doing a little bit of research while he was filming the film, and John Candy, had a heart attack and died because a habit of eating heavily you know fatty foods will catch up to you.
Yeah. And liking, well, that was after he went to rehab.
Yeah, this at this point, like, it was all stemmed from the fact is that food. It was. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
he always talked about the white he always he goes the one habit he could never kick was food. And it wasn't so much the fact is like he like basically it was like I read a story about the fact is like he was having a meeting with somebody and they brought like a plate of fries for the table, and because it was in front of him, he would eat it. That's how it works. Well, it's here. I'm not. It's like the fact is I'm not going to walk away and leave. Like I think my guess is he probably came from a house that like a household where they didn't have a lot, and so you didn't let food squander. So I go, well, it's here. It's got to get eaten because we can't. Who knows when we're going to eat again? Because that's a weird habit people get when they're kids. And so yeah, he would and just that's how he liked. But he loved life and stuff like that. So it's unfortunate. So yeah, so that's number three of the attempts to get this movie made. But there's four so far. I mean, for all I know, they probably resurface and probably try to get somebody else to do it. So like, be careful, Kevin James.
Well,
Uh,
I do have a speculation story about that.
oh,
But
about the fourth person?
yeah, no,
Or
about the fifth person.
oh, about who it might be afterwards. So, all right. So the fourth person we're going to talk about, the fact is Chris Farley was the next on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and there's a side piece concerning this one as well because there was another actor kind of in line to help be a part of the film who also had a tragedy befall them as well. Uh, so yeah, Chris Farley also on the list to get it made and things like that, and drug overdose. You know who else had the script and was looking at the script at the same time?
Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman.
Yep,
So,
Phil
and,
Hartman. Yeah, Troy
yeah,
McClure.
yeah, like Phil Hart. Yeah, well, Phil Hartman, I think was there to. I think he was not going to be. I think he was going to be part of the movie, but not like the main thing. But the fact is, he was
Yeah,
tied to it. And then
and then
people who
his
don't know
murder suicide with his wife. His wife killed him.
yeah, his wife killed him and then herself, like because it's how it works. So yeah, the most cursed movie that's never been made, and since then,
Yep.
I have a feeling it's probably still dancing out there somewhere. But as far as Hollywood right now has refused to try to make this movie because supposedly people keep dying or they can't hire the actor. I would say, don't try to hire a heavyset actor that might help some, but also who knows. Was
Yeah.
Phil Hartman
Phil
your
Hartman
fifth
wasn't
thing?
heavy set.
No, no, no. Well, yeah. Well, the only reason he died is because but I think it's like yeah, his wife was crazy. Uh,
Yeah.
that is the medical term, crazy. Uh, so yeah, cursed Hollywood. There's other stories out there, smaller stuff and weirder stuff that happens. We're doing movie sets specifically, but there's also some stuff that happens in Hollywood that's cursed in other manners. And so I don't know. At some point, we'll talk about that stuff too. I don't know. Like we didn't even talk about things like Wizard of Oz, which has a lot of fucked up curse shit too. But that might
Oh
be
yeah.
that's a whole that is an episode just to talk about Wizard of Oz.
And then
Uh,
The Shining, which is not necessarily a curse, but just an homage to how insane Kubrick is.
Oh no, Kubrick, one of my favorite directors. Who knows? I really love crazy directors. So yeah, Chris Hollywood. Interesting stuff like that. If you guys have anything like that, drop us a line about like other stuff you have like that. With people are watching now, which some people are watching by TV, which is cool. We appreciate you watching either this or on the other means. Drop us a line. That's cool. Let's get our plugs out of the way and get out of here because I'm sure you want to get to doing stuff. We got a cool thing afterwards, which I'll talk about when I get to my plug. So, Skabz, you got anything you want to plug?
No, I got nothing, man. I will be out of state this weekend. I'll be hanging out with family in and around Portland. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. All right. So, tomorrow night, I've got a really cool show for the Devil's Hour, which I've got the a lady by the name goes by the name of Carol's Daughter. It's an amazing artist and a great person. Slim the Living Cyborg. It's got
Oh,
some cool,
nice.
fun stuff, and a really cool band by the name Cold Cave, plus some other weird, cool, and crazy stuff. Uh, Thursday, Thursday, I'll have some stuff here on the channel to showcase and stuff like that. But here's a cool thing, and this is the scoop. I haven't even talked to Skabz like this. So, uh, over on another channel for the Old Double Quarantine Happy Hour, I got asked to be a part of that to do a drop in guest host spot for because Old Uncle Joe, our good friend Joe Bretta, fortunately couldn't do the show due to a family thing. So he asked me to run the quarantine happy hour, talk to people about whiskey and crazy shit. So that's gonna be fun. So follow, check my social medias as far as what's happening there. Follow the Old Humble Distilling Company because it's gonna be stuff like on YouTube's and the Twitches and stuff like that. It's gonna get weird because we're gonna be. I'll be talking with his because he uses one of his lawyer friends to be as part of his sidekick who I kind of know, and she's very straight laced, so it's gonna be fun talking with somebody like that. So watch those shenanigans. Then tune in next week. We'll be talking. We're gonna come back and talk about the one thing I could not bring over to the channel because we made the show way back and then it disappeared on us like a weird internet conspiracy. So we're gonna come back and
Woo!
talk about internet conspiracies next Tuesday. Then I'm also getting ready for my move and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'll probably talk more about that next week. Anyway, everybody be cool, be safe, be groovy, and enjoy your time. And as always, keep drinking, everybody.